In the heart of West Africa, Burkina Faso is led by one of the world's youngest leaders, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. He came to power not through an election, but through a military coup in September 2022. This was the country's second coup in just 8 months, which is, honestly, a clear sign of deep instability. Traoré, then only 34 years old, promised to do what his predecessor had failed to do: reclaim vast territories lost to violent extremist groups and restore security to a nation on its knees. His rise was fueled by public frustration and a desperate hope for a stronger leader who could finally turn the tide against a relentless insurgency that had plagued the country for years, displacing millions and crippling the state. However, holding on to power has proven to be just as difficult as seizing it. Welcome to Traoré, Africa. Thanks for watching. Captain Traoré's government, often referred to as the junta, has faced constant threats from within its own ranks. The military, the very institution that brought him to power, remains a source of significant instability. The government has announced that it has successfully thwarted several coup attempts, which, honestly, suggests a persistent undercurrent of dissent among senior officers. These alleged plots create an atmosphere of paranoia and distrust, forcing the regime to look over its shoulder constantly, questioning the loyalty of even its closest allies and military commanders in a high-stakes political environment. This internal fragility was starkly highlighted by events throughout 2024 and into 2025. In September 2024, the junta reported stopping one such plot, and again in April 2025, it claimed to have foiled another significant conspiracy. According to the government, this latter attempt was orchestrated from neighboring Côte d'Ivoire, a claim that dramatically increased regional tensions. In response, the regime has carried out waves of arrests, detaining numerous senior military officials. These actions are framed as necessary measures to protect the nation from internal enemies, but they also reveal the deep divisions and power struggles occurring just beneath the surface of Traoré's rule. The continuous cycle of alleged conspiracies and subsequent arrests showcases the precarious nature of Traoré's leadership. Each thwarted plot serves as a public reminder that his authority is not universally accepted within the security forces. This ongoing battle for control within the military establishment consumes critical attention and resources that are desperately needed for the larger fight against jihadist groups. The struggle to consolidate power internally has become a defining feature of his presidency, shaping his policies and forcing him to adopt an increasingly hardline stance to maintain his grip on the nation and its future direction. The primary justification for Captain Traoré's seizure of power was the escalating security crisis. For over a decade, Burkina Faso has been battling a violent jihadist insurgency linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. These groups have spread across the country, making large swaths of the territory ungovernable and launching devastating attacks. The military has struggled to contain the violence, and major attacks in 2024 really underscored the junta's vulnerability. Despite the government's narrative of continuous military success, the reality on the ground remains grim, with extremist groups demonstrating their ability to strike with lethal force, challenging the regime's core promise of restoring order. In the face of these immense security pressures, Captain Traoré's government has adopted an increasingly authoritarian approach to governance. To silence any form of opposition or criticism, the regime has cracked down on civil liberties. Journalists, activists, and even judges who have voiced dissenting opinions have found themselves targeted. The methods are often severe and direct. Scores of security officers and civilians have been arrested, sometimes by unidentified armed men in the dead of night, and later charged with serious crimes like sedition or terrorism. This climate of fear is designed to quell public debate and ensure that the government's narrative remains unchallenged. One of the most controversial tactics employed by the junta is forced conscription. Under a government decree, any citizen deemed critical of the regime can be forcibly enlisted into the army and sent to the front lines to fight against the insurgents. This policy serves a dual purpose. It removes dissenting voices from the public sphere while also bolstering the ranks of the volunteer forces fighting the jihadists. This practice has had a chilling effect on free speech. The case of Alain Traoré, a popular radio journalist known as Alain, who was conscripted and later reported killed in action in August 2024, sent a powerful message to anyone considering speaking out against the government. These heavy-handed measures illustrate the junta's determination to control the national narrative and eliminate internal threats, whether real or perceived. By equating criticism with subversion, the government seeks to create an environment where its authority is absolute. However, while these tactics may secure short-term stability for the regime, they also risk alienating segments of the population and driving dissent further underground. The strategy of suppressing opposition through force and intimidation is a high-risk gamble that could ultimately backfire, creating new grievances and further destabilizing an already fragile nation struggling to find its footing. Despite the authoritarian measures and the ongoing violence, Captain Traoré's junta maintains a significant level of visible public support, particularly in the capital city of Ouagadougou, located in the country's south-central region. This support is often on full display during large, organized rallies. For instance, in April 2025, thousands of people took to the streets to demonstrate in favor of the government. These events, often organized by pro-junta civil society groups, feature passionate crowds waving Burkinabe flags and chanting slogans that praise the military's efforts. This base of support is crucial for the regime, providing it with a veneer of popular legitimacy. A key element of this public backing is the junta's decisive pivot away from its traditional Western partners, especially the former colonial power, France. Traoré's government has skillfully tapped into a deep well of anti-French and anti-imperialist sentiment that has been growing across the Sahel region for years. By expelling French troops and diplomats, the regime has positioned itself as a champion of national sovereignty, a message that resonates powerfully with many citizens. This strategic shift has been accompanied by a new, powerful alliance with Russia, which is presented as a more reliable and respectful partner in the fight against terrorism. Russia has eagerly stepped in to fill the void left by France, becoming a key ally for Burkina Faso. This partnership extends beyond military support and into the realm of information warfare. Russia is a dominant force in spreading pro-junta and anti-Western narratives across the region. Using social media, local influencers, and dedicated news outlets like the African Initiative, which has an office in Ouagadougou, Russia helps shape public opinion. It promotes a narrative of Russian military competence and African self-determination, which aligns perfectly with the junta's own messaging and helps solidify its popular support. The Russian influence is not just political, it is also cultural. Films and even video games that glorify the role of Russian military advisors in Africa have become popular, further cementing the idea that Russia is a steadfast friend to the Sahel. In May 2024, a public exhibition in the capital showcased Russian military technology and achievements, aiming to legitimize the partnership in the eyes of the public. For many Burkinabe citizens tired of years of perceived Western failures, the turn towards Russia represents a new hope and a bold step towards a self-reliant future, free from the shadows of its colonial past. The dramatic realignment of Burkina Faso's foreign policy has created significant diplomatic friction within the West African region. Relations with France have completely broken down, with the junta accusing Paris of subversive activities and expelling its diplomatic staff. Tensions have also soared with neighboring Côte d'Ivoire, which Traoré's government has repeatedly accused of harboring political opponents and supporting plots to destabilize his rule. These accusations have created a climate of deep mistrust and hostility, isolating Burkina Faso from some of its most important historical and economic partners and reshaping the geopolitical landscape of the entire region. In response to this isolation, Burkina Faso has forged a new bloc with its military-led neighbors, alongside Mali and Niger, which have also experienced recent coups and have similarly distanced themselves from France. Burkina Faso formed the Alliance of Sahel States, or AES, in 2023. What began as a mutual defense pact has quickly evolved into a deeper political and economic union. In early 2025, the three nations took the monumental step of withdrawing from the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, the region's main political and economic bloc, accusing it of being a tool of foreign powers, namely France. This new alliance represents a significant geopolitical shift. This is Adare Africa, thanks for watching. The AES is creating a contiguous belt of military-ruled countries across the heart of the Sahel, united by their anti-French stance, and their strategic pivot towards new partners like Russia. This bloc aims to chart its own course, free from the influence of Western-dominated regional institutions. The creation of the AES has effectively split West Africa into two opposing camps, one aligned with traditional Western partners and democratic norms, and another representing a new model of military-led governance backed by alternative global powers. Ultimately, the confluence of these immense challenges, internal power struggles, a relentless insurgency, and a radical reordering of foreign alliances, places Burkina Faso at a critical crossroads. The path chosen by Captain Traoré and his government will have profound and lasting consequences for the nation's future. His ability to navigate the treacherous landscape of internal dissent, defeat the jihadist threat, and manage the complex web of new regional and international partnerships will determine whether Burkina Faso can emerge from its current crisis as a stable and sovereign nation or descend further into conflict